motion that would prohibit the city from creating any registry based on religion. The entire city family appears to back him and is asking for help.
And so call the city of Los Angeles, call your council member, call the mayor's office and ask how you can be a part of this movement to make sure that everyone is protected, everyone's rights are protected, and that we can continue to be a great nation.
Outside Koreatown's Islamic Center, I'm Gil Reyes for LA This Week.
Councilman Krikorian's measure would also call on the LAPD to report on efforts to reduce hate crimes against LA Muslims. Well, turning now to another controversial issue, immigration. A series of raids and sweeps by immigration authorities leaves LA's immigrant community in chaos. But attorneys and advocates are teaching immigrants to fight back. Ana Marcos has the latest.
These are no ordinary raids, according to immigrant advocates. They say the latest sweeps by immigration authorities and the new administration are something entirely new. More hard-edged, more relentless, targeting Angelino families, criminals and non-criminals alike. And the raids are filling residents with a new kind of terror.
My father was being deported and he got captured. My dad he got taken away from me,
Marlene Mosqueda breaks down, remembering how her dad, who has no criminal record, was carted away by Immigration and Customs Enforcement agents. But she wasn't the only one.
Yesterday I saw a case, this little girl crying for her dad. You know how that impacted me? That impacted me so bad.
Officials at Immigration and Customs Enforcement declined an interview, but said in a statement these enforcement actions are not unique, and that in the LA area, out of 161 individuals arrested, 151 had prior criminal convictions. Lawyers and immigration advocates at CHIDLA, the Coalition for Humane Immigrant Rights of Los Angeles, have gone into overdrive in the wake of the raids, holding workshops to teach immigrants their rights. Detainees in the raids say they were denied access to lawyers, and CHIDLA attorneys themselves often couldn't get to clients. But they say even immigrants are allowed due process.
People called us. Attorneys called us that this was happening, that this was abnormal.
So it's about transparency, it's about access to legal counsel.
Yeah, we do have an immigration law, but we also have to inject humanity and compassion into the law. And we're destroying families.
Advocates say you are required to give your name if confronted by law enforcement officials, but that there are definitely things you shouldn't do. Don't run, don't sign anything, and better yet, don't open the door. If the worst does happen, have legal referrals and information ready to give to your family and friends so you can get help.
It should go without saying that America is and always has been a nation of immigrants.
We need to be together. This is what the United States stands for. And we're all breaking it apart.
Advocates say the push by the new administration to deport illegal immigrants promises to get worse, and they want to prepare immigrants to push back. I'm Ana Marcos for LA This Week.
By the way, the attorneys at CHIDLA were able to get Marlene Mosqueda's dad back before he was deported. If you want more information, visit chirla.org. Well, switching gears now as Metro works to put the brakes on violators who sexually harass transit riders with a new hotline. Ana Marcos has more on the pilot program.
Taking Metro is supposed to provide a smooth, hassle-free commute. But for some riders, it's been a bumpy ride. A 2014 Metro study showed 22% of transit riders claimed to have been sexually harassed or assaulted while taking Metro trains and buses.
This behavior is not tolerated and it's not excusable and not okay. Any form of sexual harassment, which can be any unwanted sexual behavior, from catcalling to any sort of gestures to touching to anything basically that the person is not of wanting of sexual behavior.
And now Metro has teamed up with Peace Over Violence, a nonprofit, to run a 24-hour hotline. Under the one-year pilot program, transit riders can use the hotline to report sexual abuse and harassment.
Our counselors are there to listen, to provide options and information about what steps they can take.
Basically, the information is received. It can be turned over to the law enforcement authorities to track and maybe investigate. I mean, we do have closed-circuit cameras on a number of our systems, so we can look to see what we have there and then identify.
Since the study came out, Metro has introduced an anti-harassment campaign called It's Off Limits, posting flyers to educate the public. And the number of reported assaults dropped last year to 18%. Now it's down to 15%. Transit officials hope the hotline keeps bringing those numbers down.
We've made some progress in driving that number down. 0 is the only acceptable number, so we still know that there's more to do.
Metro officials also say cell phone service is now available on the red and purple Metro lines, just another way to make reporting easier and let the violators know that their behavior is definitely off limits. I'm Anna Marcos for LA This Week.
Officials say Metro is the first transit agency to have a 24-hour sexual abuse hotline. Well, it's been another record breaker for tourism in LA, helping boost the local economy. Rasha Goel has more on the soaring numbers in travel and cargo shipments.
For the 6th year in a row, Los Angeles has set a record in tourism, with 2016's surge coming both from domestic and international visitors. Officials attributed the growth partly to investments made in the past few years on several new attractions, including the new Wizarding World of Harry Potter that opened last year at Universal Studios Hollywood.
The technology is very different. The experience is very different than what they have in Florida. All of that, and as we talk about this Harry Potter experience around the world, people can't wait to get here.
According to officials, 47.3 million visitors came to Los Angeles in 2016. That's an increase of nearly 4% over 2015. Officials are hoping to have 50 million visitors by 2020. With the influx of travelers into LA, they say that number is achievable.
80.9 million passengers used the airport last year. That's a 9% growth level over 2015.
And that growth was also seen at the Port of Los Angeles, where more cargo was moved in 2016 than ever in its 100-year history. 8.8 million cargo containers were shipped through the port. Officials say a combination of higher tourism and increased port traffic has helped create more than 140,000 jobs and about 150,000 new businesses since 2013.
Those of us that make our living in tourism, over 500,000 families feed their children, pay their rent, supply education to their children through tourism.
People are coming to Los Angeles because they believe in our future. It's a world destination, both for business and for tourism, and it really is an indication, I think, of the incredibly bright future that this city has ahead of it.
With warm weather and new tourist attractions, visitors can unlock the door to this magical city. From Universal Studios, I'm Rasha Goel for LA This Week.
Officials say the LAX modernization will also help attract and make it easier for people to come to the city. Well, young people can impact change and stop violence in their schools. That's the message of the Sandy Hook Promise Foundation as it rolls out the Start with Hello training at schools like Eagle Rock High. Anna Marcos takes us there.
Ah, the joy of laughter and inclusion. And these students at Eagle Rock High are learning that they have the power to change their schools by reaching out, not just to their friends, but to those who are isolated, to the loners with no friends, because everyone needs to feel included.
Start with hello.
That's the message of the Start with Hello training, a program by the Sandy Hook Promise Foundation for schools around the country. The group formed in the wake of the tragic Sandy Hook massacre in 2012, when a gunman killed 20 school children and 6 teachers.
It's a little over 4 years now since my seven-year-old son Daniel was shot to death, and there's not a minute. It's constantly with me that the third child of my 3 children is gone. He's gone forever. If maybe the shooter that killed my little boy maybe if somebody had one more conversation with that guy, this could have been very different.
Mark Barden and Nicole Hockley both lost their 7-year-old children, Daniel and Dylan, in the attack. They have made Sandy Hook Promise and its message of inclusion and kindness their own personal crusade.
We know our shooter was someone who was very chronically socially isolated, did not have a lot of contact, did not have a lot of people looking out for him.
And it teaches kids to notice peers that are chronically socially isolated and bringing them into the conversation, making them feel validated and connected.
So how easy is it? Can these students stand up for the loners and bring them into the circle?
This presentation is really simple, and it's just, you just say hello to people, and you can change people's lives.
It's not just individual kids, but schools as a whole that can make a difference. For example, students and teachers can get together to create events like No One Eats Alone Day or Hay Day, where everyone wears name tags. They can also create posters or special events where everyone's included.
I know that other people aren't as lucky as I am, and that really sucks. So, I do my best to be nice to people.
The big takeaway here today, even a teenager can impact change through a simple act of kindness and friendship. I'm Anna Marcos for LA This Week.
For more information, visit sandyhookpromise.org. While school violence and bullying do go hand in hand. That's why the world-famous Harlem Globetrotters also did their part to share their children's outreach program, the ABCs of Bullying Prevention. Gil Reyes has more on their winning tips.
The Harlem Globetrotters show off their basketball wizardry to students at Para Los Niños Elementary School in downtown. But when it comes to the topic of bullying, they're not playing around.
We never encourage kids to jump into bullying situations themselves. We always want you to go find an adult so no one gets hurt physically.
Globetrotters Buckets Blakes, Flight Time Lang, and El Gato Melendez advise kids to take action and tell a teacher if they witness harassment at school. They add, if a bully harasses you, be brave and walk away smiling. Bullies want to take away the power of happiness, so don't let them.
So if you walk away from them and they're following you, you just smile, 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 and you lead them right to the nearest teacher.
This is all part of the team's ABCs of Bullying Prevention. C stands for compassion. Be compassionate to fellow students who were bullied.
Are you okay, man? You need a hug? Yeah, you do need a hug, yeah. Spin him around, Gato. He's my best friend in the home. One. Do you feel better? You feel better? See?
All part of a winning game plan. In downtown Los Angeles, I'm Gil Reyes for LA This Week.
Now the team spreads this anti-bullying message at schools across the country. Well, it's not every day you get to shoot hoops with some of LA's finest basketball players. But for some inner-city kids, that's exactly what they got to do. Rasha Goel has more on a program that's helping kids make some good shots in life.
These young kids are learning the fundamentals of basketball from actual Clippers players. They are part of the Junior Clippers program, which gives kids ages 5 to 14 a chance to play some basketball while staying off the streets.
We're up to 48,000 youth playing basketball this year with the Junior Clipper label and 17 partners.
The program began in 2000 with 750 participants, and now 17 years later has expanded to 48,000 participants. The Clippers have teamed up with the Department of Rec and Parks, YMCA, Salvation Army, and Beyond the Bell, an after-school program to give these students an opportunity to participate in basketball.
It keeps them involved, keeps them learning, but more importantly, it keeps them safe.
The program offers other life-enhancing skills in addition to physical activity.
Things about, teamwork, and things about cooperation, and things about fortitude, and how to be a good winner and a good loser. And those are the things that the Clippers really believe is important. So when you hear them talking about character, that's what this program is about.
The Junior Clippers program is more than just a basketball program. We want to promote the academic side as well. So we have a sportsmanship program where the kids, as part of the Junior Clippers program, write on one of three subjects, broad subjects about what basketball means to them.
A game that teaches these kids to not only shine on the court, but also in everyday life. I'm Rasha Goel for LA This Week.
Well, need a little indigenous art in your day? Well, head on over to Olvera Street's latest exhibit to support local artists and see everything from old-style churches to ancient Aztec warriors. Anna Marcos reports.
Step into the hallways of time, tradition, and culture south of the border as this photo exhibit opens at the El Pueblo Historical Monument with dozens of unique and haunting art pieces.
Each one showcases different parts of Mexican culture, from dance, indigenous culture, food, music, architecture.
This reception helps mark the opening of the exhibit and the work of 9 different artists.
My photographs, this time they were mainly religious. I don't know why, because I have many subjects. There is so much architecture and so much art in churches that these were some of the pictures that I submit.
Hours are from 10 a.m. to 3 p.m. Tuesday through Sunday, and the art will be on exhibit until the end of the month. I'm Anna Marcos for LA This Week.
Well, Chinese New Year started off with a bang, the bang of confetti guns and firecrackers in historic Chinatown. Gil Reyes has more from the celebration.
LA's Chinatown rang in the Year of the Rooster with its 118th annual Golden Dragon Parade and Festival.
It really showcases Chinese culture, and I think it brings all the kinds of cultures around. If you look at the parade, there's a lot of different people in there, and we see a lot of different people come out.
The crowd of thousands included Tanisa Evans and her family.
Well, I've been to Chinatown before, but it's been over like 12 or 13 years, and it's great to see how much more has developed since I've been here. There are a lot of new shops, there are a lot of new activities for the kids, so I feel very comfortable.
The event on North Broadway celebrated a new year for 1.5 million people of Chinese, Korean, and Vietnamese descent in Southern California. LA Chinatown's Central Plaza was divided into 5 sections on this day, each one representing one of the 5 Chinese elements: fire, metal, earth, wood, and water.
And in back of us here, we have the water village, which will demonstrate calligraphy, Chinese calligraphy, and also water painting.
I come every single year with my girlfriend, drink some beers, shoot some poppers off, have a laugh with all the kids, watch a parade. It's great. The motorcycle cops are hilarious. And we gotta have a good time. Woo! Yeah!
Gung Hei Fat Choi. Happy New Year, the year of the fire rooster. In LA's Chinatown, I'm Gil Reyes for LA This Week.
The festival has expanded over the decades to include more than 20 parade floats and multiple marching bands. While city leaders propose changes for new developments, a downtown landmark is denied historical designation, and a new way people who are homeless can pay off parking tickets. All these stories and more in City Beat. The Los Angeles City Council voted to move forward with several recommendations that would change the way development projects are considered. The recommendations include requiring developers to select environmental impact report consultants from a pre-approved city list and directing that the city's 35 community plans be updated every 6 years. Some community plans, which provide guidelines for what can and cannot be built in a neighborhood, have not been updated in 15 years or more. The recommendations also clump all developer amendment requests to be considered together on a semi-annual basis so officials can consider multiple development projects at once and their potential impacts more comprehensively. The LA City Council also approved the creation of a program that will allow people who are homeless who receive parking tickets to perform community service instead of paying the fine. Under the program, people who meet the federal definition of being homeless can go into one of the city's service provider agencies and apply to perform social services or community services. The program will cover a maximum of 10 parking citations and up to a combined value of $1,500 per year. A city council committee voted against designated Parker Center, the Los Angeles Police Department's former headquarters and historic monument. The building is viewed by some as a symbol of the department's troubled past on race relations, and the committee ultimately went with that view over the recommendation of the Cultural Heritage Commission to grant it historical status. The city's Bureau of Engineering has recommended tearing it down to build a new civic building. A full traffic signal on North Figueroa Street and Avenue 51 in Highland Park was recently installed. North Figueroa has been identified as a dangerous street, which means a lot of car accidents happen here, resulting in severe injuries. This new traffic light in Council District 1 is part of the city's Vision Zero initiative, which brings together transportation engineers, police officers, advocates, and policymakers to work towards creating safer streets in all LA communities. Well, LA's own baseball team opened its doors for a huge neighborhood bash. The LA Dodgers Fan Fest was a chance to rub shoulders with a whole team of baseball legends. Anna Marcos has more.
If at first you don't succeed, try again. Tykes, big and small, got to batter up as the Dodgers Fan Fest hit a home run with Dodgers lovers.
We love the Dodgers. We bleed blue. Our family is totally supportive, even though we haven't won a World Series.
It was wall-to-wall people in the parking lot, in the bleachers, in the stadium, and pretty much in every line. But these diehards showed their true blue colors every step of the way.
My son being a Dodger fan too, naturally we had to go.
And of course, the lines were longest for the autographs, but no one seemed to mind.
Well, come here every year. We really like to get excited about the upcoming Dodgers season. Of course, get a couple of autographs, check out the freebies. You get to go on the field, you get to check out the dugout, you get to check out the bullpen.
Kids of all shapes and sizes tried out their batting styles while hobnobbing with the Dodger elite. And best of all, this was all free. Oh, yes. Lots and lots of freebies.
Especially that it's free. It helps out with the family, a big family to come here.
Okay, so some of us will still need a little extra practice to score that home run. But most fans seem to feel they scored big as they spent the day with their biggest Dodger heroes. I'm Anna Marcos for LA This Week.
Well, fans were also able to buy season tickets and all kinds of Dodger paraphernalia at the event. If you love all kinds of books and publications, this book fair is not to be missed. Puppets come alive during a weekend-long celebration and get a taste of authentic local culture. All this in this week's Things to Do. Printed Matter presents the 5th annual LA Art Book Fair, free and open to the public. The LA Art Book Fair is a unique event for artists' books, art catalogs, monographs, and periodicals presented by over 300 international presses, booksellers, antiquarians, artists, and independent publishers. Last year's book fair saw over 35,000 visitors over the course of 3.5 days. It all takes place February 24th through the 26th at the Geffen Contemporary at MoCA, located at 152 North Central Avenue. Visit laartbookfair.net. It's the 3rd annual celebration of Bob Baker. Spanning the whole weekend, the festival is a kickoff of a new chapter of the theater as a nonprofit, announcing the plan for 50 more years of entertaining and enriching the lives of generations of Angelenos. Saturday, the imagination spills onto First Street for a full on-street festival, sponsored by City Council District 1. With round-the-clock puppet shows in the theater, tours, an outdoor stage of live music and entertainment, puppet-making workshops, and exhibition booths from the locals' art and community. There will also be street vendors, food trucks, walk-around entertainment, and more. The day culminates in a silent auction and variety show fundraising extravaganza. It all takes place February 25th through the 26th at the Bob Baker Marionette Theater at 1345 West 1st Street. For more, visit bobbakermarionettetheater.com. In the heart of Leimert Park thrives a group of community business members with a passion to develop an event rooted in the foundations of culture, art, music, and community. On the last Sunday of the month, Leimert Park Village invites the public over to enjoy a day filled with art exhibits, music, fashion, food, drumming, and other creative endeavors for the whole family. Plenty of DJ spinning, rhymers rapping, and poets of the spoken word combined with traditional artists and the legendary drum circle. Don't miss the fun at Leimert Park Village. And that's a look at some things to do. Well, that's going to do it for this edition. I'm Yana Kay, and from all of us here at LA This Week, thanks for joining us. A reminder that you can catch us online at lacityview.org. You can also follow and like us on Facebook. We'll see you back here next week for more of LA This Week.
My vote.
My vote.
My vote counts.
Voting independently and privately is your right. Los Angeles County strives to use fully accessible poll sites or provides modifications to assure access to all voters with disabilities. These polling places are equipped with wheelchair-accessible booths, visual devices, and audio ballot booths where you can listen to your ballot choices. Each polling place is staffed with friendly, trained poll workers who are ready to assist voters at every step of the voting process. If you're unable to enter a polling place, curbside voting is available at all locations. And if you'd like to get things done early, you can vote by mail. To find a polling place, check accessibility, or register to vote, learn more at lavote.net or call 562-466-1310.
Your voice, your vote.
Hi, I'm Chris. I'm an Iyengar yoga teacher here in Los Angeles, and you're watching LA City View, Channel 35, Our City, Our Channel. Namaste.
Good morning. Good morning. Today is Friday, February 24th. I'd like to welcome you to your Los Angeles City Council. This council meets every Tuesday, Wednesday, and Friday. The public is welcome. Madam Clerk, we do have a quorum. Would you please call the roll?
Blumenfield, Bonin, Buscaino, Cedillo, Englander, Harris Dawson, Weezer, Koretz, Krikorian, Martinez, O'Farrell, Price, Rube, Wesson, 10 members present and a quorum, Mr. President.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. First order of business.
Approval of the minutes.
Harris Dawson moves, Englander seconds. Next.
Commendatory resolutions for approval.
Martinez moves, Krikorian seconds. Continue.
Mr. President, there are requests to continue 1A to March 3rd, 2017, receive and file 1B, E, F, H, J, M, N, and as much as the liens are paid in full, and to receive and file 1W in as much as the lien was rescinded.
Okay, so without objection, that shall be the order. Continue.
Item number 1 is an item notice for public hearing, and Mr. President, there are cards on that.
Okay, why did I already know that? Continue.
Items 2 and 3 are items for which public hearings have been held. The committee report for item 3 has been submitted, posted, and circulated for council's consideration.
Okay, specials. I don't see any. So why don't we members prepare to vote on these items? Let's open the roll, close the roll, tabulate the vote.
11 ayes.
Okay, continue.
Items 4 through 8 are items for which public hearings have not been held. 10 votes are required for consideration.
Okay, so without objection, those items are now before this body. Do you have cards?
Yes, Mr. President. There are cards on 4 through 8.
Okay, so on all items then. Okay, continue.
On the continuation agenda, item 9 is the item for which public hearing has not been held. 10 votes are required for consideration.
Okay, so without objection, that item is now before us, and I think it would be appropriate that we hold that on the desk for right now. So that brings us where?
That brings council to presentations, items called special.
Okay, let's start off. We'll start off with the, I want to make sure we take care of our business. I know we have a series of presentations, and we'll get to those. But members, if you could bear with me, I think we should start on general public or public comment at this time. I'd like to call Mr. Eric Previn. Could I get Mr. Previn on the queue here? So Mr. Previn is items 1, 5, 6 in general public comment.
Thank you, sir. It is Eric Previn from Studio City, and I am running for the office of Mayor of Los Angeles. There are about 104 youngsters outside. It's very exciting. We cannot wait for them to be admitted to this public meeting. There is an item today on your agenda, sir, item number 5, that is you and your team working diligently to put together a list of pre-qualified consultants. I would propose that we delay this and re-examine admitting a wider array of firms, because this is for multiple categories, including feasibility and planning, all these things. AECOM is at the top of 4 out of 6 of the categories. Vanair Construction, V-A-N-I-R, your treasured partner is the USC lady. Mr. Ridley Thomas is a trusted partner in the jail planning. These are companies that are too close to the hub of power, sir, here in Los Angeles to be empowered like that. Because what happens is that nobody else can get in. You say we're going to have a little panel of 8 of the pre-qualified groups, and then you'll pick from among them. This is like, why don't we pick 8 trusted council members to decide. It's too close. So I would ask you to look closely at that, and obviously this is a yes on S consideration, because this is exactly the kind of sort of inside corruption that folks are really worried about, and that's why we all say yes on S who are paying attention to how this body operates.
Stay on the subject.
Yeah, sure. Moving on to number 6. Appropriately is a diaper changing station proposal, and I know that you're nervous, but I don't think that it's appropriate to go there. This is for actual employees who want to take care of that here at the City Council or City Hall, and I think it's appropriate to make those amendments. Obviously, in the national media today, we were heartbroken by the appalling suggestion that gender folks would not be permitted to use bathrooms in high school. This is going to be a big issue for Americans because it's totally inappropriate to deny people access on any grounds in that space. The other items are, of course, the lien item number 1, sir. This is unfortunate that Mr. Harris-Dawson and Mr. Price are both embarrassingly going after 3 Angelenos in their districts right now. And there's a festival of them today. I was listening to your building and safety guy try to mislead members of the public. He wouldn't tell them to go speak to their council member to get help. He was saying you could speak in public, but you might get leaned. They might lean right on you. It's terrible. You're really doing something that's pernicious to folks, and you shouldn't be doing it. You should be doing something else. A lot of other things, but not that, sir. And then you said number 8. This is the Olympics. Certainly, we are all anticipating a decision very soon on the
No,
Olympics.
you got to speak to the items that you can speak to, Mr. Previn, and those items were items 1, 5, and 6, if I remember
8,
correctly.
Sir. Number 8, I also saw.
Mr. Previn, well, now give him his general public comment.
Sure, I'll be happy to take the general public comment. There was an editorial today by Marielle Garza of the LA Times about the Olympics, and I think her point was, yikes, we may actually win. The legislature of California enacted something called the California Public Record Act. And those of us who know what it is can get access to records. And I've asked for some regarding just the general travel for LA24 and Mayor Garcetti. But unfortunately, under Richard Llewellyn and Omar Gonzalez and Jeff Millman and Youssef Robb, those individuals have gone out of their way on behalf of Eric Garcetti to block access to the travel records for Mayor Garcetti, who's gone to Brazil and Qatar appropriately. But we just said, hey, show where he's been and what he's doing. For you to be empowered with oversight of the Olympics, you need to be prepared to disclose important records so that the public has access to them, sir. So I'm asking you to instruct those individuals who I mentioned, Richard Llewellyn, who you've made, or they've made, the CAO now, and let's move forward with something.
Thank you, Mr. Previn. Let's get Mr. Spindler. Mr. Spindler, you have items 1, B, C, D, E, and F, G, H. I, J, you go all the way to 1K. You have 11 and so item 1 and items 4 through 9, I guess, is a more simplified way to say it.
Exactly. We'll do those in the other special later. On the other. Okay. All right. Very good. So all the liens on item 1. Fuck the liens. We don't want the liens. CD 13. Shame on you. CD 8. Marchese breaking my agreement with him. No more liens. He's doing it again. CD 8 again. 14. Well, you know, Weezer can't help himself. And we have a special guest on H. CD 5. Paul Peppa Pig. Koretz is here on South Kenwood Avenue. Thank you for showing up. No liens. No more liens. Pages of liens. We don't want these goddamn liens anymore. It's during the campaign season. David Rue, yes, you know what I'm talking about. No more liens. That's why you have none in your district, because you're following the rules, leaving the people alone, doing a good job. Now, we get item 6. Yes, a diaper changing station in every bathroom at City Hall. Thank you so much for this. On City Watch LA, they wrote about Mitchell Englander needing a permanent time out. Yes, when children have fits, they need to change their diapers. Councilman Englander needs to change his diaper.
Stay on the subject.
When he has a fit like a child, You take a child to the diaper changing station, such as people who have children that behave like Mitchell Englander. They need a timeout to go to the charging station for a diaper change. Yes. So Nuri understands this. Krikorian, thank you. You understand this. Jose Huizar understands this, that we have children in the room every day in this council crying, crapping in their diapers, farting all during the meeting.
Okay, you've
needing a
spoken on
diaper
this more than a
change.
minute, so go on to the next item.
Charging stations for Mitchell Englander to change his diaper when he has a
Move
fit.
on to another item.
Okay, the rest of this bullshit is about the Olympics. Send the Olympics to Paris. Je suis Charlie. C'est jouant à la Paris. Give the goddamn games to Paris. You don't want to bring the games here to L.A. We have police officers in Anaheim lynching Latino children. Our LAPD
Let's stay on the
officers.
item. Let's stay on the item.
The Parisians will not do that to children. Our LAPD officers abuse children. No on the Olympics to LA. Yes on the Olympics to Le Paris.
Let's give him his general public comment.
So we have a list. Who's trying to kill Measure S? Billionaires. People like Phil Anschutz. People like Keith Ogden. Look around, we're circulating a list. Yes on Measure S. No to the developers. No to the people who vote for Trump. No to the developers. No to the criminals. Yes on S. And as we can see, we have councilmen coming to me right now speaking at the podium who support Measure S. Thank you, Councilman Krikorian. Thank you, Councilman Cedillo, for saying yes with me. Yes on Measure S. Because that's what we have to do. Yes on S. We also held a secret meeting this morning. Mr. Wesson denied the public at the council's executive conference room, executive employee relations. You denied the public access. What are you hiding in your negotiations with our city union?
Thank you. Thank you. Your time's expired. We can vote on items 4, 7, and 8 as we get our folk to check out the microphone. Okay, so let's vote on those items. Let's open the roll, close the roll, tabulate the vote.
12 ayes.
Okay, Mr. Walsh. And Mr. Walsh, John Walsh, your items 1, 5, 6, and 9, and your general public comment.
John Walsh, blogging at HollywoodHighlands.org and at J. Walsh Confidential. Item 1, again, you do a very good job. You know, I'm not one of those angry people, white guys, hey, you're all a bunch of crooks. That's not the kind of white guy I am. Although there are millions of them, they voted for Trump. And number 1, this is building and safety. Again, building and safety. I've lived in the city since '76. They're doing a good job. Number 5, this is pre-qualified consultant panel. Anytime it says pre-qualified, that means they're in the real estate lobby. They're part of the real estate lobby. Number 6, this is, all of us, the number 1 priority here is diaper changing. Diaper changing system. I've never heard anyone complain about a lack of diaper changing. I've never seen, in all the years I've coming here, over a quarter of a century, anybody with somebody with a fully loaded diaper. Any infants in the room? No. But that's all you're interested in, infants. And the whole issue of diaper changing is a load of crap. Forget about diaper changing. And then number 9, this is a Church of Christ scientist. All of a sudden, we are going to be declaring Church of Christ Scientists an historic landmark. Guess what happens if somebody gets hurt when they're repairing the Church of Scientists? They don't call do they call 911, or do they just pray over the injured person who's been hurt? We don't need a historic cultural landmark for Church of Christ Scientists. I didn't even know that Christ was a scientist, but incidentally, if they were running the country, there'd be no laws about 911. There'd be no. They just let people bleed to death. You can take your 38 seconds.
Let's give him Sharon his minute for general public comment.
And I want to get to my 1 minute. Okay, top fat cats trying to kill Measure S, and they're all billionaires. This is a flyer. You can read it at the Measure S website. These are all the people who are in favor of destroying Measure S, and they're all billionaires. But that's why Dhawan Maharaj, you know, Dhawan is the editor of the Times. His skin is as black as anybody who's watching this. He claims he's not black because he despises black people. He comes from Jamaica. He comes from Jamaican African slaves, and he's out to destroy your neighborhood. My name is Dhawan Maharaj, and I am the big shot at the LA Times. Top fat cats to kill Measure. And Jerry Brown, hey, mind your own damn business, Jerry Brown. He's telling us that Measure S goes too far. He didn't say vote against it. He says it goes too far. Shove it up your ass,
Thank
Jerry
you.
Brown.
Thank you, Mr. Walsh. Now we can vote, Madam Clerk, on items 5 and 6. Let's do items 5 and 6. Let's open the roll, close the roll, tabulate the vote.
12 ayes.
Mr. President, now that Council has 12 members, would Council like to reconsider item 2?
Let's do that. So let's vote on reconsideration. Let's open the roll, close the roll, tabulate the vote.
12 ayes.
Okay, can we move to, I think, the special? Deal with item.
Mr.
Wait,
President,
one second. Mr. O'Farrell.
Mr. President, item 5 forthwith, please.
Item 5 forthwith. Now let's go into the special.
Mr. President, item 2 needs to be voted on itself.
Okay, well, let's do item 2 now. So let's open the roll, close the roll, tabulate the vote.
12 ayes.
Okay. Item 11, can we go into the special?
Yes. Let me call the roll. Blumenfeld, Bonin, Buscaino, Cedillo, Englander, Harris, Dawson, Weezar, Koretz, Krikorian, Martinez, O'Farrell, Price, Rue, Wesson. 12 members present and a quorum, Mr. President.
Okay, so let's vote on item 10. Let's open the roll, close the roll, tabulate the vote.
12 ayes.
Okay, now I've got a few cards on item 11. If I could have Mr. Previn and Mr. Walsh and Mr. Spindler, please come forward.
Mr. President,
yes.
Number 11 is an item for which public hearing has not been held. 10 votes are required for consideration,
Okay,
sir.
so without objection, that item is now before us, and we have cards on it. We'll start off with Mr. Previn for 1 minute.
Of the 2nd District, and I am running for the office of Mayor of Los Angeles. And this is a kudos to Mr. Bonin. Mr. Bonin is going to be naming a little neighborhood Ladera. It is a very nice thing. We should call it Bonin's Ladera. And Mr. Bonin, yesterday at the Metro Board, was very, very brave in pushing all overtime LAPD into the Metro, which is going to create another liability risk for Mayor Garcetti. He serves as on the Metro Board as well. This was really a disappointment because people do want more private security, like on buses. There was a bus driver who testified just how heartbreaking it was that she was attacked. And the new measure for $368 million in overtime for LAPD, risky overtime, all overtime, which means tired, exhausted, dangerous, will do nothing for that woman who really deserves protection. So this was a big, big misstep, and Bonin stood up bravely and sort of led the charge along with others. It's really too bad, and someone ought to elect someone in CD11 who will debate his opponent.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Walsh.
John Walsh. Check out the email or the Twitter account at Hollywood Dems. I'm going to read this through. Application relative to naming a community located within an area bordered by an unincorporated portion of LA County to the east and north, South La Brea to the west, and West Fairview Boulevard, and City of Inglewood to the south as Ladera. What an important issue. Oh, it's so important. I was out there and they're saying, please name us Ladera. Meanwhile, the gangs have taken it over and destroyed the neighborhood, and now the developers are coming in. The first thing the developers want is a new name. How about Ladera? This is absolutely wrong. We have forget about the names. Forget about Ladera Schmadera. The neighborhood is falling apart.
Mr. Spindler, please come forward.
Yes, this is the beginning of a long dream by the council president to take Ladera Heights and take Current Price's Inglewood and make them part of the incorporated limits of the city of Los Angeles. I think that's good because we have people who are really living in Ladera Heights and have been for a very, very long time. But the problem is it's not part of the incorporated city of Los Angeles, and therefore people, for example, would not be eligible to run for office. But today we're taking the first step, the first curative measure, to bring our brothers and sisters from Ladera Heights back into the fold. 1907, it was annexed. Bring back Ladera Heights, bring back Inglewood into the city of L.A., and we will steal the Rams from Mayor Butts. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Mr. Bonin. Mr. Bonin's mic.
Thank you, Mr. President. There we go. Thank you, Mr. President. Most of you probably don't realize, but there is a very narrow stretch of land, about 600 residents of Los Angeles, that connect my district with Mr. Harris Dawson's district. It is a very narrow couple blocks that stretches from La Cienega to La Brea, and over the years they have gone back and forth between the 11th and the 8th district, and they're currently in the 11th district now, and they have for a long time been struggling with getting proper recognition from the city and from other jurisdictions. They're bounded by unincorporated county to the north and Inglewood to the south. And for too long, they have been left out of the loop in terms of city services. They've been told time and time and again it would be easier if they referred to themselves as East Westchester, which they do not refer to themselves as, and they don't identify themselves as. And it's caused a problem with getting LAPD resources, LAFD resources, and more. I believe that Treva Miller is here from the neighborhood, also from LAWA. Thank you for all your work. She's been one of the neighborhood organizers who has worked with us so that last year we put up new street signs that had a city logo on them so that first responders would realize that, yes, this stretch of property is actually in the city of Los Angeles and deserves equal treatment from the city and city services. But the neighborhood wanted us to do a little bit better by them. They wanted actually to have their neighborhood get an official designation and a name. It's not a question to the 600 residents from there what they call themselves. They call themselves Ladera. They share a zip code, local civic organizations, churches, small businesses, and a great sense of community within greater Ladera Heights. So they have filed an application to name their area Ladera, and that's what we're doing today. And so that I want to thank Treva for the great work she's been doing for the community, and I would like to move that the council adopt the Ladera community naming application with the boundaries and locations that have been provided to the clerk.
Thank you. Mr. Harris Dawson.
So much, Mr. Chair. I just want to rise in thanks and support of Councilman Bonin for taking up this issue. It's been a long and vexing issue in that neighborhood. My wife and I's first apartment together was in this area, and you could never describe to people exactly where you lived, and so certainly it's been an issue for at least 2 decades that I know about. When I was running in the 8th, people said, well, we'll help you on your campaign if you ask Councilman Bonin to help us with this project, and so we're glad to see it come to fruition today. Thank you so much.
Okay, and I neglected to ask Ms. Miller to come forward. So if you could please come to the mic. One more public comment that I missed, and I apologize for that.
So much. On behalf of our community, we would like to really thank Councilman Bonin for helping us with this. As the people that live in the city of LA, we are the minority in the community, and people call us the LA Strip or LA 90056, and we really have been searching for that identity. And when we applied for this application, they told us that actually going as far back as 1917, our area was referred to as Ladera, and we were a part of the original home that were built there in 1942. So it is so important to us to finally be identified with the rest of our community. We all want to say thank you so much for giving us this chance to have our historical name.
Thank you. Thank you for coming. Let's prepare to vote on this item. Let's open the roll, close the roll, tabulate the vote.
12 ayes.
Forthwith, at the request of Mr. Bonin, so we can adjourn the special, return to the regular.
Mr. President, there is a request to continue item 1C and R to March 3rd, sir.
Okay, so without objection, that'll be the order. If I can get Ms. Martinez, our Assistant President Pro Tem, to come to the chair. We will begin with the presentation portion of today's council meeting, and I'm going to start it off. Anyway, Madam President and members, and I want to think if you have more of your family and fans, you might want to ask them to stand up. Let me just start by saying, without pause, this is the greatest country on the planet, even with our flaws, even with our pimples, even with our hiccups. I don't believe any of us would want to live anywhere else. What makes this country great are the wondrous variety of people that we have. And this council, in my opinion, does an excellent job in recognizing those that have made contributions to the country, contributions to this city. This month is African American Heritage Month, and we have had the opportunity, Mr. Curran Price and Mr. Harris Dawson and I have had the opportunity to present to you some very special people. Come on over here, I don't bite. Well, not often anyway, so here, come on and get behind us. Anyway, as I was saying, Mr. Harris Dawson, Mr. Price, and I have had the opportunity to introduce this council to some remarkable people. When we started this month off, we introduced you to one of the greatest voices of all times, and that was the voice of Johnny Mathis. We also introduced you to the legend, to the Do You Know the Way to San Jose person in Dionne Warwick. We also presented our own Barbara Morrison. A week after that, a young man who lost his hearing at 2.5 years old and became deaf, became the first deaf professional golfer to play in, and happened to be African American, Kevin Hall, to play in the big Genesis tournament that we had here at Riviera, primarily in the rain. We were fortunate to present to you again one of our own, a young lady who refused to be denied, and even though people would say no to her, she kept coming and coming and coming, and all of a sudden she is now the creator, the writer, the actor to the hit HBO series Insecure in Issa Rae, who is a Los Angeles resident. And today it is my honor to present to you an individual that was born a stone's throw away from this building in Mr. Harris Dawson's district. We have two-time Grammy winner, Terrence Martin. Give him Terrence Martin. Give Terrence a round of applause. There are, I guess, not just about anybody, but you can take lessons and you can learn how to play the piano, and maybe if you were born with the ability to sing, you can sing. But an artist, that is a gift. That is a gift that you receive from a higher power. And the young man that I have with you today is more than just a performer. He is an artist. And if you look back at some of the great artists in any genre, you will find that they come from an artistic family. So this is a young guy who his uncle helped. And see, what they do when you're born with this, you just have people try to hone your skills and pull it out of you. So his uncle helped him. His godfather helped him. His dad is a drummer. His mother, who is with us today, wrote gospel music. And what I really like, she wrote love songs. Let me say that again. Love songs. So he got this natural, on the natural. This is a young man who had in fact, how do I want to put it? This is a young man that is such an artist that he could be in the studio tomorrow with the great Quincy Jones, and then 4 days later you find him in the studio with Snoop Dogg. This is an individual who believes that there is no limit to art. He's had the opportunity, again, to work with the greats like Quincy Jones, to work with Herbie Hancock. And I just want you to know, Terry, I really like that name, Herbie. I don't know why, but I just think that is a good name. But he's worked with Herbie Hancock, Leila Hathaway, the daughter of the great Donny Hathaway, Kendrick Lamar, one of the greatest or the newest and hottest rappers today, Wiz Khalifa. This guy is not only a special talent, but he is homegrown. And he is one of the individuals that genuinely cares about where he came from, and he wants to make sure that he travels up the ladder of success, that he pulls the entire community with him. Like I said, he is a two-time Grammy winner, and I believe won these Grammys with, was it Kendrick Lamar? With Kendrick Lamar. In fact, it wasn't that long ago that his own album, was it Velvet Portraits? Velvet Portraits was up to receive a Grammy. He didn't get that one. Leila Hathaway got it. See, you trained her too well, man. When you go in and wait till after the competition, but because you might have 3 right now. But at a young age, if any of you know anything about music, was a great man named Billy Higgins. Billy Higgins is probably, if not the most, one of the most recorded artists of all time. And one of the things that Mr. Higgins, what Billy would do, he loved teaching young people. So Terrace had the opportunity to work with Mr. Higgins, who helped create an organization called the World Stage, which is located in my district today in Leimert Park, adjacent to Mr. Harris Dawson's district. This great organization is now being run by my dear friend and brother, Dwight Tribble. But he learned from Mr. Higgins the value of training other people. I mean, this guy is so good, he could take an Oscar Mayer Wiener jingle and turn it into a Grammy-nominated song. He really could. But he has his own record label. The name of that label is The Sounds of Crenshaw, because that's his turf. That's where he grew up. My staff person told me, Terrace, the other day, that he's even recorded some music that's called Valdez on Crenshaw. So whatever he does, he focuses back to the community. It wasn't a few weeks ago or so, he had a free concert at the Crenshaw Mall. Mr. Harris Dawson was there. Hundreds of people were there so that they could enjoy this up-and-coming artist. One of the reasons why it's so important that we recognize people like this is because they know how important it is to give back. And that's what I think we need more of. And we are so appreciative of everything that you've done. This guy can play keyboards, drums, bass guitar, saxophone, vocals. That is an artist. And ladies and gentlemen, he's here today with his, mother, who played a significant role in his development. I have a feeling that he will not stop with 2 Grammys, that there will be many more. I think this city is a better city because of the work that you do, and there will be a lot of young artists that council people in the future, when we're all gone, will be presenting based on the skills and the talents that they've learned from Mr. Martin. Ladies and gentlemen, please join me in welcoming, again, 2-time, should have been 3, 2-time Grammy winner, Terrace Martin. Give him a round of applause.
Hello, hello.
Hold on for just a second, sir. Don't mean to cut you off. We have Mr. Harris Dawson who wants to say a few words.
Thank you so
Mr.
much,
Harris
Madam
Dawson?
Chair, and thank you so much, Mr. Wesson, for bringing this presentation, and thank you, Terrace, for hanging out with us again. It's very, very good to see you again. I'm super, super proud of you, and was working with you long before we got here on the City Council. Like Mr. Wesson said, it's been very, very important that you've made it a point to bring back the talent that you developed here in our city and in our community. And the thing about Terrace Martin, because I think Council President covered a lot of it, but the thing about Terrace Martin that I would add to that is Los Angeles, whether or not it gets a lot of recognition, especially in the African American community, we're in the middle of a music and art renaissance. So it's you and Kendrick Lamar and Anderson .Paak. I mean, the Grammy Awards last week, it looked like a neighborhood meeting in South LA. Like, it was just, all of you were there. And all of you work together. All of you guys create together. It's YG, and I was with Nipsey Hussle, and he says, well, yeah, I talked to Terrace the other day, and we want to get together and do something on Crenshaw. So you all work together, you share with the community, and you're raising the level of everybody. And I think it's a big deal, and I appreciate you for being at the center of it, because I know everybody works with you, or you play sax on somebody's album. Thundercats album comes out today, and that's a huge, huge thing in the music business. I know you were a part of that. You guys are lifting the level for everybody, and really, really important, you're getting young kids to pick up instruments again. Yeah. Like, for generations or so, it was all about the computer or, electronic equipment. Now folks are actually picking up horns and learning how to play, picking up string instruments and learning how to play. And it's because of the Renaissance that you all are help leading. And it is a big testament, a big, big testament, because all of you, Tyler, the Creator, Kendrick, all of you went to LAUSD public schools. Our schools created this. And again, you guys are big on giving back and recognizing your schools. So again, thank you for all that you have done. And again, when you're with your comrades, just tell them how much we in the city love them and want to help lift them up, and we'll help them in any way we can. Thank you all so much, and thank you, Mr. Wesson.
Sir, the floor is yours. Go ahead.
Cool. Man, thank you. Thank you for all these beautiful things, Kimani. Alicoy. I appreciate everything, but it was a Battle Cat, Billy Higgins, the LAPD, in not a cool way, but a way that really always strikes fear in my heart in a certain thing, because I remember having a saxophone going to Leimert Park when a lot of my friends would get killed that didn't play music in the city of Los Angeles, California. And I always said if the schools if every school had a Reggie Andrews, if every neighborhood had a Battle Cat or a Billy Higgins, or just these three powerhouses that I feel, my parents taught me a lot how to love and respect. But when a child leaves the house, the neighborhood raises them. So a child has a few different parents. He has a community. He has his parents at home. And then in my era I grew up with, what some people may call gangs or whatever, we have the homies. And every gangbanger is not a bad thing. And every gang doesn't represent a bad thing in the city of Los Angeles. I grew up in the Crenshaw district. That particular gang is called the Rolling 60 Crips. But it was 4 guys from that era that always said, don't hold a gun, obey the law, get home safe, and figure out something else to do and don't be like us. So those are the gangbangers that I see on TV and everybody talks bad about. I don't have the same story. From Bloods to Crips to all my SA partners and everything, from East LA and Boyle Heights and everything, I've been raised by a community of Los Angeles and a strong, loving situation at home. You see what I'm saying? So when I see the news and everything about LA and all these crazy things going on, they only flash on one particular thing. But the neighborhood that I come from, and I come from all of LA, and I could name probably every gang in LA, but every time I bumped into a different set in LA with my saxophone, they welcomed me with open arms. And they welcomed me with open arms because I believe I was a vessel for any type of positivity for the community. Because the city of LA doesn't really nurture a lot of positive things sometimes. If it did, it would be more instruments in our schools. It would be instruments in Henry Clay and Audubon and Horseman and Locke High and Crenshaw and Dorsey. And it would be bigger art programs, because when you don't have art programs in the school, it creates the monster. It creates I hear people, I just heard a few gentlemen come up here and talk about how the gangs are making this, making that. No, the gangs ain't doing nothing. It's the school system. It's the LA. It's us. We're not nurturing our young artists and our young people. Luckily, me, Thundercat, Ronald Bruner, Kamasi had a way out with Billy Higgins and Reggie Andrews. Reggie Andrews is now retired. Billy Higgins is no longer with us. So I don't have a choice but to do it, because I'm sick of seeing monsters. 15 years old, 16 years old, killing each other and all kind of crazy things, And you don't really know what it's like until you lost some friends to murder. But if they would have had the same thing, just a block away, just the same thing, even if their household was messed up, just something that they could hold on and look for some type of positivity, that would change a whole lot of things. And that is my only goal in life, is to change things. I don't have no other goal. The Grammys was great. All the accolades is great. But if I could help a kid pick up a piano or a horn and put down a gun, that's my whole goal. I don't care if you white, black, green, yellow. So, thank you. with this, these things are powerful, and I thank you all. I thank you all, and I would like to look at this as I'm just a representative of the Crenshaw district. But bigger than that, I'm a representative of a young black man that had all the odds socially against him and still cracked on top. You see what I'm saying? And I don't turn my back on nobody. I don't look at, I look at gang banging and black on black crime as a sickness that needs to be treated. And I'm just trying to treat that illness right now. So I thank you, everybody. And this is for LA. This my name is on it. But I got a lot of homies that ain't gonna never see daylight again because they ain't paying for things they didn't do. So thank you, everybody. Appreciate it.
Thank you. Terrace, is that your mom? Congratulations, ma'am. You've done a terrific job with your son. As a mom, I can tell you, he's a reflection of you. Thank you so much for being here.
Oh, you're welcome.
Madam Clerk, you have an announcement?
Yes, Madam President. 1Q is continued to March 24th, 2017.
Without objection, that will be the order. Mr. Kokorian, are you ready for your presentation, sir? Sure, go ahead.
Come on up.
Members, many of you participated in the Women's March Los Angeles, and it was a remarkable day of 750,000 people coming out and standing up for what's right here in the city of Los Angeles. And I'm pleased that many of our constituents traveled to our nation's capital as well to participate in the Women's March on Washington, which taken all together led to 5 million people throughout the world participating in this march. One of my constituents, the owner of one of our city's great prop houses, History for Hire, is Pam Ellier, who with her husband Jim started this company in 1985. Well, Jim started it in 1985. It's been a great part of the entertainment industry. But on that day, Pam was there representing the city of Los Angeles, and she brought with her, unlike many of the other members of our community who traveled, Pam brought with her a flag of the city of Los Angeles to be able to represent all of us during the March on Washington. And so I just wanted to recognize Pam for doing that. She has a picture here of her participation in the march with our great city flag there leading the march. And Pam, we're just so proud that you took the time and effort to represent this city in standing up for the rights of everyone during the Women's March in Los Angeles.
Well, thank you so much. And Kristen was there. Oh, thank you so much. And Kristen was there with us. And, you know, LA's our team, so we wanted to take our team colors with us. And we were very proud to have this, and I can't tell you how exciting it was for the other marchers. They'd come up and go, "You're from California and Los Angeles." So there was a lot of pride in carrying the flag. Thank you all for doing such a great job with our city. So for you.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Pam. And for those of you who'd like to pose with the flag, who participated in the march, Pam will be in the back to pose for some pictures as well. So thank you, Pam, very much.
So much.
All right. Members, since the beginning of movie making, people in darkened theaters throughout the world have looked up at the screen and seen magic be created. They've seen places around the world come to life. They've seen imaginary places become real. And there's always been a description of that as being movie magic that happens in Hollywood better than anywhere else in the world. And the people who make much of that magic happen are sometimes not even noticed. Their work is not noticed except in the cumulative effect that it has on all of us as we see this film. Those are the scenic artists who make magic happen in movies every single day. They paint backdrops, murals, figures, portraits, decoration, fine art painting, stained glass. They do the sign painting and many other things that we may not notice individually, but taken together, they create images something like this, the scene from Wizard of Oz that none of us will ever forget, or scenes of Mount Rushmore in North by Northwest, or so many other things that have become iconic in our memory of movies. This was fine art created by Hollywood's scenic artists. And they follow in a long and great tradition that goes back to ancient Rome and ancient Greece when theatrical presentations were first being produced. And it's continued on through Shakespearean times, and probably any of you who've been in a school play participated in painting a backdrop at one time or another. But none of us have ever done it as well as the amazing members of our scenic artists community here in Los Angeles. Salvador Dali himself was a scenic artist. He painted a backdrop in an Alfred Hitchcock movie in 1945 called Spellbound. There have been many great, iconic artists, including MGM's master scene artist George Gibson, who painted colossal backdrops, including the one I showed you of Wizard of Oz and in Oklahoma. Ben Carré was a master in perspective drawing. George Gibson was one of the great masters who created iconic backdrops in Sound of Music and others. And here in Hollywood, we had Gross Studios, which still continues today, and was founded in 1932 as one of the great centers of scenic artistry. The scenic artists are now represented by IATSE Local 800, the Art Directors Guild, and this year, IATSE is celebrating the great contribution of our scenic artists by declaring 2017 to be the year of the scenic artist. And this year, they're also bringing back, the scenic artists are bringing back their awards for excellence in production design back to the city of Los Angeles from Beverly Hills. It just took place a couple of weeks ago, and we're very glad to have them back. I also want to make note again of this huge thing that I just picked up, which is more than just a painting. This is actually a wonderful book that portrays the history of the art of the Hollywood backdrop, which has just been published and really tells the story of the many generations of contributions of scenic artists to the great cultural legacy that this country provides to the rest of the world through Hollywood. So I want to join with the art directors in recognizing 2017 as the Year of the Scenic Artists. And I'd like to take an opportunity to recognize Patrick DeGrieve, who is a scenic artist himself and chairman of the Scenic Title and Graphic Artists Council. Patrick?
Thank you very much. Welcome. And thank you, and thank the council for this proclamation. We are very grateful. As you stated, scenic artists, when they do their best work, nobody knows we did anything because it goes unseen. It goes, you're there. You don't realize that it's a painted backdrop. You just believe you're there. And so to get any recognition is extremely gratifying, and we are indeed very grateful for the recognition. I want to introduce, if I may, some of the people that are here. Chuck Parker, who's our executive director of the union.
Well, thank you very much, Patrick. And when we're all watching the Academy Awards upcoming and all of the most famous talent in the world are walking over that red carpet, you'll see the background of the red carpet created by our scenic artists as well, which is one of the most viewed pieces of artwork probably in the world because of that, because of the broadcast of the Academy Awards. So I'm very pleased to be able to recognize today as Scenic Artists Day in the city of Los Angeles. Congratulations.
Thank you, Mr. Krikorian. Thank you very much. Mr. Cedillo, are you ready for your presentation, sir? Go ahead, sir.
Thank you,
Good
Madam
morning.
President. It's been quite an inspiring morning, and we are here with more inspiration of courage, of leadership, of discipline, of representing. You have behind me the Franklin Panthers football team that just, let's hear it for them. They just finished the season with 13 wins, 2 losses. They are the CIF Los Angeles City Section Division III champion. That's the 6th in the school history, and they made it to the CIF State Football Playoffs for the first time in Franklin's 100-year history. They defeated the Wilson High School Mules and brought the victory bell back home and defeated Eagle Rock High School to capture the principal trophy. The City of LA, the CD1, and the community of Highland Park are proud of their dedication and excellence both on and off the field. So I'm going to acknowledge each and every single one of them because just to be on the team, these young men have sacrificed much. They could have been doing other things, maybe easier, more pleasurable, but they gave up their summers after school, early mornings, their weekends. They went through Hell Week, and they built a team that represents us in the Northeast, and we're very proud of them. And so I want to read everybody's name because they deserve that recognition. There's not one young man behind us who's not destined to leadership in the future and who did not make the sacrifices that contributed to this championship team. And so with that, let me ask you to welcome, as I acknowledge each and single one of them, David Tejas, Mitchell Berry, Stephen Barrera, go ahead, Daniel Rodriguez, Daniel Celes, Matthew España, Leonel Santiago, Mario Bobadilla, Álvaro López, Raúl Arellano, Martín Hurtado, Guillermo Cordova, Imran Shah, Bryant Flores, Tomas Mateo, Justice Kinyard, Joshua Pasondo, Ivan Jimenez, Eric Nolasco, Isidro Jimenez, Douglas Vasquez, Stephen Copard, Jonathan Rangel, Austin Mejia, Ismael Rodriguez, and Eric Cardoza, the Panthers of 2016. Let me also acknowledge their coaches. President Wesson and I are very fond of coaches because these coaches turn young boys into young men. They teach them how to set goals, how to be disciplined, how to work towards those goals, how to be teammates, how to be leaders in their community and future leaders of our society. And so these young men who are their coaches, and as I've said many times, I've had many titles: senator, assembly member, union leader, council member. But my favorite is when I see the young men that I coached out in the community and they call me coach. It's my favorite title that I love to hear. With that, let me introduce the assistant coaches, then I'll bring the head coach up. Assistant coaches: Paul Ariola, Nelson Chavez, Devin Martinez, Achilles Cortez, Michael Aguilar, Alfredo Bejad, Leo Mendoza, David Carranza, and William Alvarado. And then finally, let me bring up the head coach, who is an incredible leader, a young man I enjoy talking to, a Bruin as well, head coach Narciso Diaz.
Thank you. On behalf of Franklin High School, thank you, Gusadilla, for letting us come here. Great opportunity for these young kids of Highland Park. These kids, man, they do a great job on and off the field. Out of 26 varsity players, we had 16 players have a 3.0 GPA and above. So, you know, just give it up to these players that put in the work in the classroom. Also, many of these players, I got like 6-7 players that throughout the season also had jobs. So they went through school, they went to practice, and after that, they'll go to jobs in the weekend or after practice. And I just give it up to them. The number of players we have, the 26 players, we just brought the tradition back to Franklin and getting that city title for the first time since 1989. It's a 6-1 in the school history. And to top it all off, this year was the 100th anniversary of Franklin High School. So we came out with the championship. That was a little icing on the cake. And just want to thank you guys from the bottom of our hearts on behalf of the administrators, the teachers, the staff, the parents, the players especially. And just thank you. It's a great moment to be here. So give us a deal. And I'd like to bring up 2 players. Mario Bobadilla, he was our quarterback, and he was named the Offensive Player of the Year for Division III, LA City. Mario? There's Mario Bobadilla right here. And then real quick, David. And we also have David Tejas, who was named the MVP of the whole LA Division III city section. David Tejas. Say thank you.
I want to say thank you for supporting us throughout the whole season, and it's a great honor to be here in front of all you people, and I'll forever remember this moment for the rest of my life.
Bravo. Let me bring up the principal. Was unavailable this morning, but we have the assistant principal, Oscar Mayoga. Ricardo. Yeah, thank you. I want to call you that.
I want to thank you on behalf of the Franklin High School community. I want to acknowledge our parents who were the foundation for this team. I want to thank our alumni. Coach Diaz is also a Franklin alumni. And the community of Highland Park really rallied around these students, these gentlemen behind me, who started off as boys and now are gentlemen who are leading the way in academics and athletics. It's the collective work that we do as teachers, staff, community members, and families that produces this quality and caliber of man. So on behalf of Franklin High School, we thank Mr. Cedillo for recognizing our efforts.
Let me note that Franklin has this rich tradition, and you'll see in this group here a future Rocky Delgadillo, city attorney of Los Angeles, former Franklin alum, or a speaker, John Perez, former Franklin alum, Sammy Lee, former Olympian, and Gerard Orozco, a former alum who's being challenged right now, but who is coming through like a true Panther. So congratulations, and particularly to the families. What a rich and exciting year it's been. The excitement of the Friday night games, particularly going on the road, going into the hostile territory, and then coming out victorious. It's just something that you young men will never, ever forget. We welcome you here to the city. We thank you for being here, and we want to give this to you as coach. There you go. Represent. Just keep smiling, guys. Just always smile. We're going to go in the back.
Congratulations, Panthers.
Thank you. Thank you. Yo, shout out to all the homies.
Mr. Harris Dawson?
Madam Chair, I just want to take the opportunity to give a warm welcome to students from a great elementary school in my district. I'm going to ask them to stand up. The great students of Lauren Miller Elementary School.
All right.
There you go. It's the Lauren Miller spirit. They're joined by their teachers, Mr. Ponce, Mrs. Uday, and Mrs. Mitchell. And we also have a parent, Miss Christina. The students from Lauren Miller are here today to look at the...
Look at the camera.
Wow. You guys raised the bar. So we want to thank them. They're here to see the Black History exhibit. And the Lauren Miller spirit is very, very important to us. Lauren Miller was a great lawyer and judge that desegregated housing in the city of Los Angeles. And these students go to the school named for him. And we hope that you all grow up, can be in this building and be throughout the community to help build the kind of city we all deserve. So thank you all so much for being here.
Thank you very much. And welcome, boys and girls, to your Los Angeles City Hall. Thank you for being here. Mr. Koretz, are you ready for item 9? Mr. Koretz, are you ready for item 9?
Well, good morning, members. Today before us is a historic nomination for a well-known property in the Westwood Village. It has been identified by Survey LA for local as well as national historic status. The Los Angeles Conservancy has also stated this property is a significant historic asset to the city of Los Angeles and the country as a whole. However, we have an unusual situation in that the property owner is citing exemption as a religious institution under the California Government Code. While today's action is not the designation of historical status, it is only the nomination and investigating of the building, the applicant claims that when the property publicly announces a substantial hardship, the council can't even investigate the eligibility of the religious institution or the criteria from which they are exempt. This advice seems to be counter to the intent of the historic nomination process. Title records have not even been submitted to council, nor the eligibility of the claim. Additionally, the circumstances surrounding this property are unique in that the owner is clearly proposing a redevelopment to a much larger building and yet has stated they have no plans for a project and claimed that the reason for demolition was reducing the operation and monthly expenses associated with maintaining the building. CEQA prohibits a piecemealing of a project. And for the record, the city received a request from the same property owner just a few months ago for a lot untie and claimed within their documentation to the city the purposes was for the sale of the property and development. The city has also received from the public obvious real estate advertisements for the development of the property. This piecemealing is unlawful and shows bad faith in working with the city and the Westwood community. I've received several calls from the Westwood community urging time to seek a preservation solution. Just as we found with the historical nomination of the Century Plaza Hotel, there should be time to explore solutions. While the church states it has done its independent research, the lack of transparency has caused many to question whether all options have been fully explored. We have been told this is simply to reduce operating costs, and then just recently we were copied on an email correspondence indicating that they want to create an endowment. We simply haven't received all the information here. Therefore, I ask for your support of the motion before you today, and I would also like to amend this motion to instruct the Department of Building and Safety to place a hold on issuing a demolition permit at this property until the Planning Department has investigated whether a development project has indeed been proposed for the site. In addition to the historic nature of the property, I received many concerns regarding the increased density on the site. So I would also like to amend this motion to initiate a general plan amendment to downplan this property. And I would like to ask you all for an aye vote.
Mr. O'Farrell will second your amendment, sir.
Thank you.
We have a number of speakers on this item. I'm going to first ask the folks who filled out cards in favor of the proposal. These are the three following speakers. Marcelo Vavala, are you here? Marcelo Vavala, if you can please come to the podium. The next speaker is W, just the letter W. Is that someone here with that first initial W? I don't see anyone. The next speaker is Wolfgang Weith. Can you please come forward? Go ahead, sir. You have 1 minute.
Good morning, City Council members. Marcello Vavala with the Los Angeles Conservancy. We're in strong support of Councilmember Koret's motion to initiate landmark designation of the 20th Church of Christ Scientist property. The Conservancy has long believed this property to be historically significant. It's profiled on our website, and we have submitted past comments regarding the owner's request for a lot tie about 15 months ago. We believe it's a significant example of post-war modern ecclesiastical architecture, and it's associated with a notable architect, a notable landscape architect, significant example of modern architecture in Westwood Village. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Next speaker.
I'm Wolfgang Veit. I've been a resident of Westwood since 1969. I've seen the beauty of Westwood, which the community plan intends to protect and enhance the unique character of. This building that seems to be on the plan for demolition is a gem in Westwood, and there is no rush to demolish it because there are other viable options on the table that haven't been explored by the people involved. There seems to be pressure from behind, from developers, to get as fast their hands on the property to develop something that needs to be, according to the specific plan in Westwood, a discretionary approval by city anyway, which involves CEQA. So the situation here is we need to slow down this rush to demolition. That's all I have to say. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Spindler, were you W?
Yes. And again, I just want to tell you, on behalf of all of my friends, the Scientology is very, very, very powerful. Now, normally, I knew in the developer, I am yes on Measure S, but in this case, given that this is my friends from Scientology, I must support the Scientologist. So tear down the building. If the Scientology wants to tear down building, they have connection to God, And if Scientology believe the building must be torn down, it is the will of God. Scientology understand many things you do not understand. Paul Koretz do not understand Scientology. This is a racist attack against the religion of Scientology. They are being attacked because they are a religious organization. So support Scientology, vote no on this motion, and let Scientology, our great neighbor, have their property right. Thank you.
Next speaker is Steve San. And after you see this concludes the speakers in favor of the proposal after you speak. Go ahead.
Good morning, council members. My name is Stephen San. I'm the chairman of the Westwood Community Council. First of all, you should have received a copy of a community impact statement from our neighborhood council. There was not a case file earlier, but it was distributed this morning. Our neighborhood council is strongly in favor of the preservation of this site. You also have communication from several other faith institutions, including our Westwood United Methodist Church, that is urging you to work with us to find a preservation solution. This congregation is extremely important in our community. My adoptive grandparents were founding members of this church and helped actually, since the 1930s, purchase land and help build these buildings. So this is a congregation we want to see continue in our community, but we also want to see that this magnificent sacred space not be destroyed. There are many preservation options. To the best of our knowledge, no other faith community was approached by this church to ask if they wanted to buy, rent, joint venture, or use this property jointly with the church. We would hope that we can work with this important congregation and find a preservation solution and have this congregation continue in Westwood.
Thank you, sir. The following speakers have filled out cards against the proposal. If you can please come forward. Hal Deering, Ken Kennedy, and Doug McCormick. Can you please line up and come forward to speak? You have 1 minute. Good morning.
Morning. Mr. Koretz, you've done a good job for the district, but this motion is totally misguided. You're relying on improper facts. You're leaning on the practice of our religion in the community. We're protected by a statute. We've relied on that statute. We have begun removing items from the interior. Our magnificent organ, the sound system, the water, the walls are all removed of asbestos. The building is no longer usable for us. It is sinking us financially. And for the council to consider that that fact is to be totally disregarded is not only offensive to me, it is in violation of law.
Thank you, sir. Sir, your time is up. Thank you very much. Next speaker is Ken Kennedy, followed by Doug McCormick.
I will read a portion of the definition of church from Science and Health with key to the scriptures by Mary Baker Eddy. Quote, church, the structure of truth and love, whatever rests upon and proceeds from divine principle, unquote. Members of the greatest thoughtful body in Southern California, the Los Angeles Council. We suggest that you thoughtfully consider your actions.
Thank you, sir. Next speaker. Mr. McCormick, hold on for just a second. After Mr. McCormick is Sabrina Stillwell, Mark Paycheck, and Kathy Miller. If you can please come forward. Go ahead, sir.
Council members, first of all, thank you so much for all you do for our city. It is a difficult task, especially listening to all of us, so I don't know how you do it. I've been a member of our church for over 40 years. The church has been highly regarded contributing member of the Westwood community for over 80 years, whose mission has been to love, help, and heal the community. We have a reading room in the village that many people use as an oasis for prayerful study. I'm new to how City Council works, but it makes sense that you support each other and vote for a motion that doesn't affect your district. However, I would submit to you that this motion does affect each of your districts, because at its core, this is a question of religious freedom, which seems to be dwindling in our nation. We all have a responsibility to protect that right of religious freedom for others, even if one is not religious. So to me, this choice is actually very simple. A yes vote means you care more about bricks and mortar than for a church's mission to love, help, and heal the community. I urge a no.
Thank you, sir. Next speaker.
Hi, I'm Sabrina Stillwell, and this is not a Scientology church like someone said before. I live in Westwood Village. I first came into Westwood in the 80s when my husband and I came to manage his family's apartment building, which they've owned since 1950. I love Westwood then, and I love it now. Back then, this church, the people, welcomed my family with open arms, and we lived for a few years, and then we moved away. Then 4 years ago, my husband and I moved back. Again, my church, the people, welcomed me back. I love architecture. I wanted to be an architect when I was in high school. But to say the identity and value of a church is in the building is off base. Church is about the people and the mission. The mission of Christian Science is to know and to understand God, to learn to love and to heal, to redeem mankind. I've read that institutions are to serve mankind, not mankind to serve the institutions. People are the valuable thing. People are the life of the church. As beautiful as our edifice is, the true significance of our church is how we love others. I feel holding on to this building would not help.
Ma'am, your time is up. Thank you very much. Before our next speaker, I'd like to introduce the California State Senate President Pro Tem Kevin De Leon. Good morning, sir. Welcome to City Council. Thank you for joining us this morning. Sorry about that, sir.
Good morning. Thank you for allowing me the time to speak. I'm Mark Paycheck. I've been a member of the church for 40 years. I just want to say that the church has been in Westwood Village for about 80 years. It's a good neighbor. It's been a contributing presence to the community. And as prior speakers have said, our mission is being compromised by the expenses associated with the building. Unfortunately, all too often, the historical cultural monument designation is simply used as a subterfuge to sink any redevelopment or change in use. I'd wonder whether the opponents of this have been in favor of any changes to uses of buildings in Westwood Village. And as a former speaker said, this is an encroachment on the religious liberty of our church, and our mission is best served by serving the community in the way that Mrs. Stillwell mentioned, and not simply by being devoted to bricks and mortar. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Are you Ms. Miller? Come forward. I'm going to call the three next speakers right before you go forward. Eric Oyama, Victor De La Cruz, and Carolyn Kuhn. Are you here? You can please come forward. Good morning, ma'am. Go ahead.
Good morning. Thank you. Council members, I have here a photograph of the first church structure built by the members of 28th Church of Christ Scientists, Los Angeles. It is the first of 3 church structures so far which were built by our membership. It has been an active contributing presence in Westwood Village for nearly a century. The issue, as I understand it, is that there is a motion to designate our main church building as a historic monument. It is the desire of the city to preserve the bricks and mortar structure of our 3rd church building, which was built by us for our purpose, which is to have a sanctuary for anyone who wishes to preserve his or her spiritual integrity and identity. By designating our history according to bricks and mortar, the city inadvertently discounts the worth and preservation of the soul of our faith community. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Next speaker.
Thank you so much for
taking the time to listen to everyone especially the members of this church. I've been a member of 28th Church of Christ Scientists for just about 12 years. And this has been a wonderful community that's just, opened their arms and just embraced everyone who's come in. And this is what makes a church. It's not the structure, the walls, but it's the community, it's the people, and the support that they give to everyone. This structure that we have right now no longer serves our needs. And so we would love to be able to have a structure that is actually useful for us. So, thank you.
Thank you. Next speaker.
Good morning, Victor Dela Cruz with Manat, Phelps & Phillips on behalf of the 28th Church of Christ Scientists. If there's one thing that I've learned as a land use attorney, it's that you try not to tell the city council that they can't do something. Today, I have to do exactly that because, as my letter to you indicates, the objection I'm about to make is required to provide airtight protection under state law. Under Government Code Section 37361, if a religious institution objects to the application of local preservation laws in a public forum on the grounds that their application will lead it to suffer substantial hardship, which is likely to deprive it of economic return on its property or the reasonable use of its property in furtherance of its religious mission, then those laws may not apply to it. I am here to make this objection. The monument designation process would do all of that and create a substantial hardship for my client. Under this same law, the church's determination of substantial hardship is final. You cannot override it. You cannot move forward with the nomination process. I urge you not to take an illegal action today. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. Next speaker. Before you go, ma'am, let me just call the three remaining speakers: Barbara Brown, Judy Forrest, and Peter Forrest. Go ahead, ma'am. Good morning.
I'm Carolyn Kuhn. I've been a member of 28th Church for 55 years. 4 generations of our family have been active members and participants. It has never been about the buildings. It's about the light coming out of the buildings, the prayer, the healing, and the embrace of our Westwood community. Preserving a building is not what this church is about, but it is about preserving our presence in Westwood as a strong, active, substantial metaphysician and group of members, not wedded to a certain building, but wedded to being an active part of Westwood community.
Thank you. Next speaker.
My name is Barbara Brown. This country was founded on the premise of separation of church and state. My children's 7th great-grandparent was John Alden, so I know a little bit about this. 3 of their relatives were signers of the Constitution. For me, it's not a building. It's a place that I go to express my spirituality. I came to Los Angeles in 1976 and chose this church because its level of spirituality and the love that the members had for the community. I really don't think that to reverse what is already established of no decision to be made against the church would be beneficial. I work in the reading room. I see people come in constantly from other denominations and from no denomination wanting to understand that God is love. And they go away with that. They come to our church and they have that same opportunity. Thank you.
Thank you. Next speaker.
Thank you for hearing us. I don't have much more to say than that has been said, except that I have been a resident of Westwood for 60 years and a member of the church for 60 years. I have seen now the AA coming to our Sunday school building and are so grateful to have a loving space. I have seen homeless people come to our reading room in order to feel a sense of shelter and hope and purpose. We are a vital presence in our community, and it's the sense of understanding God and the love of people for people that make us worth having there. Thank you.
Next speaker.
Members of the council, I have been attending 28th Church for 62 years. I'm currently a member of the executive board. It has been an important part of the Westwood fabric for a long period of time. And the church has reached a point where it needs to realize economic benefit from its site in order to continue to function. If designated a historical site, it would result in the demise of the branch church. Therefore, I request that the motion to make 28th Church of Christ Scientist a historical designation be revoked.
Thank you, sir. I have two remaining cards on this item. Mr. Herman, followed by Mr. Walsh. Mr. Walsh, are you here? Or he's in the back, okay.
So it's no wonder when God makes a change, isn't it? Isn't freedom of speech and freedom of religion an important aspect of our daily lives? Then listen to the people here today and their protests for and against. For all I know and all I care, I pray to one God, and that God makes every decision made by foolish people here in this horseshoe. He will judge you, He will bring down your home, and He will show His authority under this item 9 for the continued consideration of motion by Mr. Koretz and Weezar. And Weezar is not even in his seats. Thank you for listening, Kevin Dillon, because you're the only person so far paying attention to my public comment regarding the Church of God. And we, the people, under the sovereignty of the Ralph M. Brown Act, want to protect our churches from the vandalism of this city who destroys our neighborhoods and constitutes redemption.
Thank you, Mr. Herman. Next speaker, Mr. Walsh.
John Walsh, blogging at HollywoodHighlands.org or J. Walsh Confidential, tweeting at Hollywood Dems. There are only 3 members of the City Council in their chair. But I want to say that I love Christian Science, and I've got a great thing for them to transform their building into. That is a first aid station, a Christian Science first aid station, and an emergency room. Say you're hit by a car in Westwood. Then they just bring you right to the first aid emergency station, and a bunch of Christian Science pray over you while you're bleeding to death. This brings you right to heaven, so you lose 10 or 15 years of life. The important thing is this Christian Science will bring you to heaven as you slowly bleed to death. HollywoodHighlands.org.
Thank you, Mr. Walsh. This concludes cards on this item. Mr. Koretz, do you want to close?
Yes, I just want to point out that I mean no disrespect to the church or its congregants or its precepts, but I am seeking to explore preservation solution as an alternative to demolition, and hopefully this will provide the time for that exploration. And colleagues, I ask for an aye vote on the original motion and on the 2 subsequent motions as well.
Thank you, Mr. Koretz. There are no more members on the queue. Madam Clerk, let's open the roll. Close the roll. Tabulate the votes.
10 ayes.
Okay, item passes. Thank you. We're going to move on to item 1.
Madam President, for item 1, 1S is continued to March 21st, 2017, and 1X is continued to March 24th, 2017.
Okay, without objection, that will be the order. I have a speaker for item 1O. Kevin Burkhart, are you here? Good morning, sir. Come on up. You filled out a card for item 1O. You have 1 minute, sir.
Good morning, ma'am. I'm just here because they burned the garage down behind
the house, which is detached, and therefore our kind of vegetation has grown. We tore the garage down since then, and we're working on getting the vegetation cleared out. I'm asking that you do not, that you disapprove the proposed lien. We're trying to get all that cleared out right now. I'm in negotiations with the insurance company.
Sir, we can continue this item for 2 weeks, which would put you at March 10th.
Okay, that's fine.
Okay? So why don't we do that and continue this item until March 10th, and you can speak to staff. I believe,
Madam President.
Where's Mr. Charles at? Okay. Charles is in the back. Sir, can you help this gentleman, please? We've continued his item for 2 weeks.
Thank you.
You're welcome, sir. Have a good day.
Madam President, just for clarification, 1O should be continued to March 8th, since March 10th is a recess.
That is correct. Okay. So go ahead and we'll continue his item until March 8th because we're going to be on recess on the 10th. My mistake. Sorry about that. Let's move on to item 1Q. We have 2 speakers, Efrain Gonzalez and Denise Gonzalez. Are you here? Anybody here by the name of Efrain Gonzalez? Denise Gonzalez? That they do not appear to be in council chambers. Let's move on to 1S. This was continued, but there's a speaker card. Taryn Jones? No, she doesn't. She waives it. Good. You choose not to speak? Okay, thank you. Okay, let's go ahead and vote on the remaining balance, Madam Clerk.
Item 1, ma'am.
Okay, let's go ahead and vote on the remaining balance. Let's open the roll, close the roll, tabulate the vote.
11 ayes.
Okay, let's move on to general public comment now. First speaker is George Abrahams. George Abrahams, are you here? Followed by Jill Stewart and Sherry Smith. Mr. Blumenfield? Item 2 be sent forthwith for Mr. Blumenfield. Good morning.
Hi, my name is Jill Stewart. I'm the campaign
Hold
manager.
on for just a second. We're going to start the clock again. We didn't have the right time.
Oh.
Okay, go ahead.
My name is Jill Stewart, campaign director for the Measure S on the March 7th ballot. I wanted to tell you a few things about what's going on. Our billion-dollar nonprofit representing us is the good guy. Your billionaire developers and organizations are the bad guys. Just so we can clear that up, today's LA Times reported that our backers, a 30-year-old nonprofit, treats hundreds of thousands of patients around the world. Your backers trying to stop Measure S are top 10 fat cats trying to kill Measure S are all billionaires. Sonny Khan and his cousin, Miami Skyscrapers. They're billionaires. They've donated $1.4 million to stop Measure S. What do they want? Well, they can't get rich enough. They play globally. They thrive in LA's broken system. They need to stop Measure S because the can't get enough Khan cousins of Miami want to build 2 skyscrapers in Los Angeles with no discernible affordable housing.
Thank you very much.
Okay, we have the Lowe's billionaires, who are luxury resort hotel developers, donated $25,000 to the No on S effort. These people just got City Hall approval to turn open space and densely crowded Palms, the land that it should have been a park for a luxury hotel and offices, banned by zoning. They have Phil Anschutz, who is the AEG mega billionaire, oil baron, donated $25,000. Of course, he received many entitlements, including for the Staples Center. And then we have Clyde Holland, who is a Vancouver billionaire, skyscraper mogul, donated $25,000, who is a campaign backer of another well-known developer, and he's gearing up to seek huge favors and zoning exemptions from City Hall for himself.
Thank you. Next speaker. Are you Sherry Smith?
Yes.
Hold
I'm
on for
Sherry.
just a second. I'm going to call 3 more speakers. Mickey Jackson, Hollis Evans, Ilani Wetschel. Go ahead.
Hi, Sherry Smith with Measure S, and more of the top 10 fat cats trying to kill Measure S. They're all billionaires. Frank Lowry and family, Australia mega billionaires, donated $100,000 against Yes on Measure S. And then we have the billionaires that can't get rich enough. They play globally and thrive in LA's broken system. And they want to stop it because, well, beloved Frank McCourt wants to fill up Big Dodger Stadium parking lots with luxury, mini-city flatted band by the community plan. Thank you.
Thank you. Next speaker. Before you start, I start the clock again for her. Go ahead.
Hi, Ilana Wachtel with Measure S. Also reported in the Los Angeles Times today, Michael Weinstein said, "We have witnessed how San Francisco, where AIDS Healthcare Foundation has clinics for testing and treatment, has become a rich ghetto. Low-income people by the tens of thousands have been displaced, and diversity is harder and harder to find. The same thing is unfolding in Los Angeles. And as my previous colleagues pointed out, these fat cat billionaires are donating hundreds of thousands of dollars. Frank Lowy, the family, Australian mall mega billionaire, has donated $100,000 against Measure S. Thank you.
Next speaker.
Mickey Jackson with Measure S. Why are some of the richest people in the world trying to demonize a nonprofit that has saved hundreds of thousands of lives around the world? Money. Lowe's, over $80 billion private, the owners and the companies. This is just a sampling. Crescent Heights, over $15 billion. McCourt, over $10 billion in his holdings. Coleman, $8 billion. The Lowy family, $30 billion. That's to not be confused with Lowe's, who is an Australian company. Crescent Heights is a Miami company. Ann Schultz is over $20 billion. There are hundreds of billions of dollars in this coalition. It is the most powerful people in the city. It is some of the richest people in the country, and they are demonizing a life-saving non-profit. How dare anyone do that?
Good morning, good afternoon. My name is Hollis Evans. I am a 40-year resident of the city of Los Angeles and a renter. I'm also the face of displacement due to gentrification in Los Angeles. I'm a proponent of Measure S. I wanted to put forth to you the name of John B. Kilroy Jr., who is a billionaire, developer, speculator, and skyscraper developer, who donated $25,000 to the Against Yes on Measure S people. John Kilroy wants to build the Academy, which is a $300 million complex with a 23-story residential high-rise near the corner of Vine and DeLongpre Streets. Anybody who's been through those streets knows how congested they already are. I'm the face of displacement. These developers have displaced many people like me. Thank you very much.
The next speakers are Ann Hars, Herman, Dick Vandals. Are any of those people here? Ann Hars is not here. Mr. Herman, are you here? Go ahead. Followed by Dick Vandals.
Isn't it apparent when they try to censor you? Isn't it apparent when you don't call item 1 on my behalf to be spoken upon, the liens? But more so, when you come in your elegance of bright colors, Nuri, I don't criticize that. Just because some of us have big and look so big, maybe you should try getting on a diet so you don't have to kill the messenger when he tells you about your true lifestyle. Colors don't fit you, Nuri. Big banana yellow, big red like my head, he don't match you. And look about Herb. Herb's breath smells so bad, I can't even stand by the man. So, yes, this is general public comment. And if you don't like criticism under 54.9, 54.3,
Mr. Herman, address the entire council, not an individual council member.
This is called the Ralph M. Brown Act, exercising 54.9,
Thank you very much.
54.3C. You fail, and I have a right to criticize.
You're done. Thank you very much.
And just
You're
for-
done.
just
Next
for-
time, fill out a card for item 1, and you'll be able to speak. You did not do so earlier. No,
And
you did not.
just for
Next
the record,
speaker. Go ahead, Mr. City Attorney.
Just for the record, the speaker turned in the card for item 1 after he turned in the others and after his multiple agenda segment was over. It was too late.
Thank you very much. The next speaker is Dick Vandals. There's no one here by that name. Mr. Hunt? Is Mr. Hunt in the room? He is not. That concludes general public comment. Madam Clerk, what's next?
Council has motions for posting and referral.
Posted and referred.
The desk is clear, Madam President.
Okay, members, are there any announcements? No announcements? Can we all please rise for adjourning motions? Members, are there any adjourning motions? To my left, seeing none. Any adjourning motions to my right? Seeing none, this meeting is adjourned. Have a good weekend.